Hello and welcome today to this event of Soch, the initiative of BJP Intellectual Cell Maharashtra. Today we have two eminent authors with us, and it is going to be a very interesting conversation that we are going to be having today, and especially revolving around geopolitics and our neighbors and how things have been changing from fiction to realities and how the realities are intermingling with fiction nowadays. The world is a very different place from what we know. And today we have with us two well-known authors, Tuhin Sinha and Clark Prasad. Welcome, both of you all. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. I would like to briefly introduce both of you all, if you give me a minute. So Tuhin is prolific with new genres. He's authored 10 books with Mission with Shenzhen and The Legend of Birsa Munza, slated for release in next year, later this year or next year, and a few other books. He's also written non-fiction books on development politics, India Aspires and India Inspires. Tuhin, you've been a national media panelist and spokesperson of the BJP. You're an articulate speaker and you bring a lot of objectivity to the high decibel debates on TV that have been structured and nuanced arguments. And it's basically a think tank that you've been entrusted with, if I may say so. So welcome to today's session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our second speaker today is Mr. Clark Prasad. Clark, welcome. He's, I would say, the alter ego of Suraj Prasad, who's called a citizen of planet Earth. Well, born on Halloween Day in the leap year in Lagos, Nigeria. His parents have served in the Indian Army, and Clark sees himself as a griot or a storyteller, trying to connect the past, present, and the future. Well, he's a pharmacist and has a postgraduate management degree from IIM Kozhikode. His early education on the mysteries of the universe came via Carl Sagan's Cosmos. Since then, he's never stopped discussing the universe and the blue marble we live in. His first book was Baramulla Bomber. Well, very interesting topic. He's written short stories, explored non-fiction writing, and besides writing and eating cheesecakes, he's a spiritual multiverse traveler without a box. Welcome to today's session.
Thank you. Thank you.
With this, I would like to hand over the session to our well-renowned Dr. Sukanya Iyer ji. Welcome, Sukanya ji. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, Tuhin Sinha and Clark Prasad. It gives me immense pleasure to invite you both. You need no introduction. The credentials, your achievements speak for yourself. Having said that, in these unprecedented, scary times, tougher moments, we have young authors of our nation who, who had written a book which no one had plunged into. So straightly going into your book, and because I will not be doing any justice to the book if I say that I have read it, but I have not read it fully. I'm still in the process of reading it. Tuhin, to you first, my thoughts for this book. Excellent book, espionage thriller. You have excellently decoded China's warfare. And there have been, barely any other book or web series that has been made on this particular topic, especially during these times. What inspired you to write? In fact, after Tuhin, I think even Clark can share his insights.
Thank you, sir. First of all, Sukanya, thank you for this opportunity. I think BJP Maharashtra Intellectual Cell with intellectuals like you has been doing a phenomenal job of enlightening people. And I think if we can contribute to that via this session, it will be a pleasure. See, our national security from the time that we became independent has constantly been under siege. One, due to our hostile neighbors, and two, because of a deep state which has been brewing more prominently over the last couple of decades. So a book which delved into futuristic challenges, national security challenges, had been on my anvil for a very long time. So when I, broached this idea with Clark, who had written a similar book, Baramulla Bomber, 6-7 years ago, he was very excited about it. We started working on it. In fact, we wrote half the book, and that is when the COVID pandemic broke out. And we realized that is something we had not factored in. So today everybody in his right senses, except for maybe the usual liberal suspects, believe that COVID warfare is man-made, it was plotted, and the planning was going on for at least, a decade or more than that. But the book goes slightly beyond that. How has that bio-warfare impacted geopolitics, especially, what are the challenges to an emerging power like India? Because at the end of the day, with a population, of 135 crore plus, the world has its stakes in India. And that is where certain powers and certain Andolan GVs merged with them also see India, this India very different from the India which they were used to patronizing, where, entitlements and hypocrisy doesn't have much of a place. So I think it's a mixture of a lot of visible and invisible challenges, which is decoded in the book and which is combated by our characters, most of whom are young characters. Vihan, there is a lady spy. Many of the characters are relatable. But yes, I think the fact that two of the biggest defense experts in the country have validated the book means a lot. Clark calls himself a conspiracy realist. So, he can go to, a different level altogether with his conspiracy theories and how he decodes them. So over to Clark, he will do his bit of.
Yes, Clark, you can also share your
Sure. Thanks, Tuhin. And it has been a great journey in this book, while writing, thinking, discussing, rewriting, looking at it. And we never thought that because the big blueprint was around, if China has to take over, it has to be a sort of a multiverse warfare, where basically it's economic, it's military, it's psychological, it's everything. As you can see, the 3 Ws. And the pandemic came in, it became true, and also there's a different aspect to it. But as Tuhin rightly said, we are under siege, and we have a situation where there certain percentage of the population still think of India as has a different role to play, like a subservient role to play, which is not the case. Now, historically, we haven't ever been an aggressor, to be honest. Historically, over 5,000 years and all, if you look at it, we've always taken cultures and embedded and created our own Bharat culture or Hindustan culture and moved ahead. So keeping so many things in mind is very important. So if there's a strong India, how is India going to react? And that's what this book is about. And even though the book doesn't talk about cricket and all, so I'll just give an example. I grew up in the 80s, started watching in the late 80s cricket. And at that moment, in fact, I was honorable. I had the honor of watching Gavaskar live on TV and all. So that was a very defensive way of standing up and doing some victory. And then we had the era of Kumble, Sachin coming in, Kumble, Srinath, all those things. We used to fight back and give back, like Ganguly. Now you see, we are dominating. So the new India wants to call out and take dominate its own way, and we have our own way. So this book is about those characters who want to stand up for the nation and stand for what is right and take it to a conclusion. So, yeah.
That's great insights, both of you. Sometimes, life imitates and rather I would say inspires art. You must have heard about, China's hackers at work. And in many countries, including India and the West, do you think, Tuhin, we as a country are adequately prepared for that?
Well, I'm not a subject matter expert on that, so I am convinced that our national security, and that includes the security interest of all citizens, are being adequately taken care of.
Okay.
But what is worrying is that there is an attempt by certain sections of the people, and today I'm particularly anguished because, in the last 2 or 3 days, the new challenge which is unfolding in front of the world, Taliban, and the way, in fact, in our book, Donald Trump and, the prototype or a character very similar to the US president and Indian prime minister are two very important characters in the book who had a vision for the world. Yes. And the vision was to fortify against the world, against the communist Islamist nexus, which sooner than later, with its destructive mentality was going to destroy the world. Unfortunately, Donald Trump, had to go. There are conspiracy theories around it. But look at what the world is today. I mean, nobody had anticipated the Taliban challenge. So what I find particularly disturbing is a certain mindset among a small chunk of Indians. And I say small because fortunately their size has been shrinking over the years. But that is to wish away or to cover up our mistakes of the past. For example, at least two mistakes, which if you may allow me, I will quickly point out. In 1950, India was offered the UNSC seat.
Yeah.
Nehru refused it. What logic was there behind it? In fact, the book has published a letter by the then Home Minister, Vallabhbhai Patel, warning Nehru about his blind, and immature trust in China. So, unfortunately, while all of us have been aware of a flawed foreign policy which we pursued for a very long time, the attempt to cover it up, the attempt to validate it by frivolous leftist arguments is something which is one of the major causes of the problems which not just India is, but across the world people are facing. And communism is a bigger scourge than COVID. Let me say this with full responsibility, but maybe today I'm more anguished than on normal days because of what I see happening but the communist mentality is a big scourge.
Yeah, and just to add what Tuhin said,
Yeah.
historically we had World War I, World War II, and Nostradamus and so many people predicted World War III, Cold War and all. But what we have right now is World War E. It's electronic, and that's everywhere. Now, where can this war go? It's a war of hackers, a war of brain. And I'm sure the Indian our establishment has created certain measures and all. And because the war can be anything, any of the electronic device can be a Trojan horse for actions against the nation. Now, whether it's a tripping of the electricity lines, whether it's this was a fact which I'm saying. There was this hacker who was actually able to hack the pacemakers and all also.
Yeah.
Imagine that. It's when we can't trust our own things around us, then like a transformer idea. So we have to be aware, and we can be only if we educate, we talk, we see. No one is bad when they're born. It's about the environment they have. And this point of the Islamist communist angle, there's even a book, Red Jihad. So when these two merges, you can imagine it's only about control and domination and keeping freedom-loving people away. Because communists, whether you look at Stalin, Pol Pot, the great cultural revolution. See how words are used to bring positivity. Cultural revolution, China, put in, and then suddenly it really has a different way. Words are used to just change narratives and all. Who remembers the tank man from the 90s?
Yeah.
Tiananmen Square.
Correct.
Now, so we live in a world like 10 years down the line. What I fear is that when we do Google or we search, these things will not be there. And there'll be a whole generation who will be born without knowing what is it. This will be like mythology speaking. This is like 1984 George Orwell. So it is in scary times we're living in. So unless we don't speak, freedom of speech, protect our constitution and speak about it, things are not going to happen. And that's what the characters in the book are fighting and talking and taking things head on, because one has to do that.
That sounds interesting. From that, I would like to ask Clark, what are the fodders, for an inquisitive mind in this novel? What thoughts and questions would the reader, have, especially after reading this novel?
Mm-hmm. So our novel actually moves towards more on the economic warfare, which we are facing right now, and will go on. I still remember the 90s when we had to give away our gold because we had no money to pay for imports and all. It was such an embarrassing moment at that period, but the government did what it has to do because of whatever failed policies or whatever policies was given up to us. So if we are not economically strong, anyone can push us around.
Yeah.
But along with economic strength, we need the strength of military power also and intelligent power also to take out covert and overt means. So that's the second thing. India, we have a very strong culture, multicultural areas and all. Like you're from South India. I presume you're staying in Delhi.
Yes.
Yes. So I grew up in Delhi. I'm still in South India.
Yeah.
So we are strong culture, but
yeah.
As a reader, as a person, we have to think, how do we make our country economically independent and strong? And how can we make our military pride, and so that they don't have to fight an internal war?
Right.
Because it's a war of the mind also. Because I still remember when we had the a couple of years or 1.5 years ago, the CRPF explosions and all, people are celebrating rooftops and all, some people, and that how's the, I don't want to use the word because it's going online, hashtag, some, and reporters used it also openly. It's wrong, it's sad, it's really sad. Yeah, one has to be, have a proud for the country. If you do not have pride for the country, please give away passport. Yeah, that's my view. Yeah.
Clark, from those insights, Clark's viewpoint that we need to be economically and militarily strong. Over to you, Tuhin. Do you think this, like I'm talking from the reader's point of view, does this novel also talk about, the roles and also handling of coronavirus by international organizations like UNSC and also WHO?
It doesn't exactly get into that because like our focus was a spy thriller.
Yeah.
Geopolitical thriller. So the impact was more on how the politics across politics was evolving as an impact of the coronavirus, and not so much on the handling of it. That is a different book which other people have been writing.
Yeah. So do you think that this, tensions with China has risen post Galwan incident? India has recently, also raised the issue of freedom of navigation.
On the other hand, for the first time post Doklam, China got a very clear message that they can't get away with this, with this normalized encroachments which they had been doing for in the last 6 decades, because India has lost huge chunks of land, 4,800 square kilometers, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yes.
So this time, post Doklam, they have got a very clear message that those encroachments are not going to be easy, and that is what that is the message that was reiterated again at Galwan. So I think the Congress governments were used to being bullied. We are not, and that is something which a lot of people don't digest. See, at the core of it comes the other problem. A lot of people are apologetic about the existence of the Hindu religion, despite being Hindu. A lot of people are apologetic about the idea of India, the present geography, the present boundary in its existing form. And it just emanates out of an inferiority complex. There is something as basic as an inferiority complex has to be blamed for it, because there is no reason why you would take so much, you would be so apologetic about your own existence and about your own identity. So this problem has been has only grown, and over the years, fortunately, in the last 5-7 years, there has been a difference in the leadership paradigm. There is a leadership which
I was about to ask that.
Fortunately, there is a leadership which does not take things lying low, which wants to transform not just situations, but also the attitudes and approach with which we have dealt with situations in the last 7 decades.
Correct.
This change is not easy for many people to digest, which is what creates a lot of internal, dissent. Apart from the external challenges, if you ask me today, the internal challenges which we are witnessing is as a result of the difficulty in people accepting this behavioral change towards leadership, towards addressing important situations.
Yeah, and just to what Tuhin said, that I think Steve Jobs said this: if you want to be nice to everyone, go and open an ice cream parlor. Leaders are not going to make everyone happy, so hard decision needs to be taken.
Yes,
and
hardcore decisions have to be taken on time-to-time basis. That's what this leadership is all about.
Yeah.
That's what the establishment is expected to do now and then for the betterment of the nation and for the welfare of the nation.
Yeah.
Having said that, Clark, do you believe, or do they in your novel believe, the Wuhan virus is a Chinese bioweapon?
Yeah, so the novel speaks about how a particular military background person in China with his deep state connections wants to bring back the great ambition of the China group, because in 2049 they want, according to the Chinese white paper, they want to be number one economically, culturally, and military and powerful all across. So this domination is not only in terms from the point of view that the voice domination, it has to be like sports domination, everything. So those white papers are then open for everyone to read. Now, how do I reach that? Do I take myself up or do I bring other people down? So if you look historically in the 90s, China was away from WTO, and suddenly we had Bill Clinton and the US establishment, Democrat establishment, bringing them in. And then slowly the manufacturing in Europe and US was shut down. The blue collar jobs went away to China. And now supply chain, we have seen the constraint. Even a surgical gloves, we can't make it. Now that is not safe. That is not correct for anything. This takes me back to certain decisions needs to be taken. So now, whether the virus is in terms of in our novel, the virus is man-made. In our novel, it is a military project. That's how we have showed it. Now there are many books who actually spoke about this. In fact, Dean Kursi, I cannot pronounce his second name. He wrote a book in the 80s where a virus actually escaped from Wuhan. So the point is that it's already out there. Now the question is about our establishment to ask the hard question to know the present truth. If the truth doesn't come out, then we have to be independent, Atmanirbhar. So and work on that.
Okay, I'm going to go into the middle of the book. Suddenly, I was reading it, and I was stuck with this Shikari Babu Sabu. Any one of you can take, Tuhin or Clark. Who is this Shikari Sabu, and why you think Swaraj is still, far away, and Shikari Sabu has a different kind of swag?
Yeah, so Shikari Sabu is sort of when in the Tinkle we had the Shikari Shambhu and then Sabu from Chacha Chaudhary. So you bring them together. It's all childhood memories of the great Indian comics. It's sad that so many of these comics are not being made into movies. We could have our own Marvel universe, Indrajal, and so many things are there, and all the stuff and all. So the Swaraj part is about self-dependence, and and we haven't reached that, because if you are importing, even to make the pencil, we need the lead, or we importing that. Then it's a challenge. And over the years, this has happened. Whether the development in Northeast was not done, which is happening right now at a great pace. Just think now. Last week there was talk around edible oils.
Yeah.
Why are we thinking of manufacturing edible oil now? Why wasn't it done long time back? So it takes steps. Everything cannot happen in a day. And the whole point of the apples will not be grown in only Himachal. Now we have in Arunachal, in Northeast, the apples are growing now. So many things are there. So the Swaraj will only come if we are free in the mind. And to have free in the mind to stand up, we need to be financially independent, military independent, and have our own voice and culture. Means we should not be subservient to any other group and cultures around the planet. Every culture has to be respected.
A new paradigm shift, I think, will we'll get to hear or get to read about Swaraj in your through Shikari Sabu, in your novel.
Yeah, he's a podcaster, so he has an alter ego, so he just speaks on that.
Coming to you, to him, I also went through that war room excerpts. Okay, Prime Minister was escorted to war room, and when I was reading all those excerpts that as he was onlooking all those issues going on inside the war room, I heard a name called KK, but I don't know who is this KK.
Well, all the characters are inspired from real life. So whether it is the NSA, whether it is the guy who manufactures the vaccine.
Prime Minister says, get KK. He will do it. That's what I'm asking. Who's KK?
Your guess is as good as mine. There is the vaccine manufacturer. So your guess again is as good as mine. And there is that Chinese app which was banned, and there was this lady who was heading it in India. See, but the larger conflict which the country is witnessing today, I would attribute it to the fact there is a small segment of population now, smaller than what it used to be, which still wants to follow a subservient mentality and which wants to see India as a young post-colonial state and and a larger chunk whose size is growing, which wants to see India as an ancient civilizational state. So at the core of this is the core of the conflict. This is the core from which all the other conflicts emanate. So I think unless there needs to be some form of war, and I'm not advocating a military war. There needs to be a literary war, an intellectual war to address this problem, so that those apologists, those subservient people are, relegated to the sidelines, and India can emerge as a stronger country. And I say this on the eve of our, Independence Day, because that would correct a lot of ills which the country has witnessed over the last many decades.
Correct. And from those insights to Clark, what is this about top secret? The operation was the greatest from the Prime Minister and especially the KK, and KK, Kui, the Chinese hostage. So throw some light on that.
These has to be read in the book. We can't say everything out.
I just want the viewers, to get
what
the nuances.
Yeah. So what we have
characters which kept me going on and on.
Yeah. So for the readers is there, what we're trying to do in the book is bring a little bit of different realities. So we use different channels of communication, because right now the book is not only text, it has secret communications given in different format. We have messaging given in different format, whether it is a podcast being given, so how the podcaster are going to speak about. So we have formed different channels, narratives and all, and that's where all this, the pointers, they all come in and all. And the book slowly builds towards the pace, and what is needed, what I would expect, and what would we expect people to do, the readers to do, go out and do the research.
Yes.
The points which you make it, go out and do the research, because we can say that, yes, it is fiction, but these facts are there out in open. It's that when we don't talk about them, we think it's not that it doesn't exist. The danger exists. So only when you read, you research, you make yourself independent, you're thinking independent, then things will be different. So that's how I like to say it. So that's about top secrets. These are all narrative, I would say, is a narrative weapon to take it ahead.
So viewers will get to read a lot of narrations like this.
Yeah,
I want to go deeply into it.
Yeah.
Something
yeah. I'll give an example. Like we had communication when given. So so in terms of like we had this WikiLeaks happen long time back, like this one. So when we look at the WikiLeaks, we look at the embassy, how the communication, the official channel communication done with the US embassies.
Encrypted version.
Encrypted. So what is out in open? In fact, there's a website. You can Google and put every name. It comes. You can put India. You'll see what comes in and all. In fact, so it is official. People talk in email.
Crazy. So you used it. So I also said I also went crazy when I read your book, and I'll reach to the conclusion also. On that note, from Clark, I again come to Tuhin, and both of you can throw light on this. What's next for you both? A book on the rise of the Taliban, fall of Kabul, or on climate change, the other hot button. Now,
well, this book should be seen as an introductory chapter by everybody, all readers, and for us also, into the world of the deep state and all the futuristic national security challenges which people other than security experts may not have been aware of.
Okay.
Going ahead, obviously, we would like to do another book on a similar theme.
Yeah.
And there is something else which is being planned. So I think wait makes patience makes the wait sweeter.
Yeah.
The product sweeter.
Worth the wait, worth the patience.
Yeah.
You, Clark.
Yeah, same here. We are working together on some other projects and all, and we can't share more details now, but it's going to be centered around the theme of national India under, because I love Tuhin's idea in terms of India under siege, which is a fact, which is there. And if we don't talk about it, we won't know it.
Yeah.
And when he 2019 and 2018, 2019, he spoke about it, I was thinking, yeah, it is a fact. We are under siege.
Yeah.
The siege of fake narrative, the siege of everything is, it's just, and unless we don't talk about it, we won't know about it. So
see, today, Captain Amrinder Singh is supposed to have made a statement that the farmers' rally, farmers' protests have been hijacked by Khalistani and Pakistani elements. So is that the reason why there is increased support from the Congress in recent weeks? These are questions which one can't shy away from anymore. These are questions which need to be asked and addressed.
Answered also.
Yeah, follow the money, simple.
Yeah, Clark, on that, I would like to ask one more question. Does the future look scary to you?
The future is always unknown. Now,
unpredictable, uncertain.
Yeah, it's always unknown. We do not know what's happening. But if we are prepared, we can make it the journey worthwhile. The future is unknown. There's only one thing certain in the planet: death. That is the ultimate arsatya, jo bolte hai. That is going to come no matter what we do, what we say. I was talking to one of my friends, and we around the concept of what's going to happen in the future and all. And I just told him once this: see, in the end, everyone dies. No one can escape this planet alive. What remains is only memories. Now, why do we remember Sardar Patel, our great home minister? Why? Because he was visionary. He gave all the points and all. So the things you leave behind are, if people follow and think, that's what we need to remember. We have to keep the optimism high.
Yeah.
Because without optimism, it's a dead society. So we have to keep and that can happen only if we trust each other. Yeah.
Well put, well articulated.
Yeah.
But to you, Tuhin, this is my personal question. I wanted to ask you for a long time. How do you manage to stay calm in the strictest high decibel debates on television? Please answer me.
Tend to be naturally detached from it. You know, there are things which you should do and forget about it. So ideally, you know, a calmer articulation of points is my style. But then if that is what is in vogue today, if that is the only thing which is there on primetime television, either you participate or you forget making your point. So I think one gets used to it, and I think I have the ability to be different things at different times, which works.
On neutrality, having a neutral opinion always. And I must say the readers, I must say the viewers, our audience, that Tuhin is one of the most articulated speakers that we have, and more to come from Tuhin. And from Tuhin, I move to any one of you can take this. Almost 2 years of Wuhan virus. Why do you think there is a lack of, news or movies or documentaries about the source and culprits of this COVID?
I think Suraj, would you take it?
Suraj?
Yeah, so there are documentaries if you search for it, but the algos don't let it come up in the search terms. So there are things out there. People are speaking and sharing things, and see, science is around questions, and if you have the word scientific temper, it means given a hypothesis, testing it true or false. If it's true, is it really true? So that should be encouraged. That should be sound. And we have a protocol always in the pandemic and all those areas that to understand patient zero. And as of now, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen strongly. So as long as if we just keep quiet, things will happen again. But if we question it, at least we can ensure that the future another version doesn't come out and all. So we have to question, we have to study, we have to see. There are documentaries, there are movies definitely being made, and it's going to happen ultimately. It's going to happen. It's already there out there. So
but it has to come. It has to come out in the limelight.
Yeah, and it's already in the limelight. At least people are talking about it now. If our book would have been released 6 months,
the facts have not come out. And the culprits have not been named, officially.
Yeah, so if you want an answer from me, nothing's going to happen in that area.
Yeah.
Culprits, yeah, nothing's going to happen. So we have to see reality, because in the book, yeah, something happens, but we have to see reality. Because let's look at World War II. Hitler got defeated, Berlin but what happened to Nazis? The Nazi scientists were taken by Soviet Union and the US. Operation Paperclip in the US. Ultimately, Nazi scientists who prepared all those things. Professor von Braun, who was the rocket scientist in the Nazi with Hitler, who made those bombs which actually attacked the London bomb raids and all. He was part of NASA, the moon mission.
Yeah.
So we have to live in the real world sometimes and just make people aware so things don't happen. So it's like just to add, it's like health. When we are aware of the health, that sugar is poison, then we tend to avoid it.
Yeah.
So the more we know the correct things and more we think, then we can take preventive measures. So we should, that's the objective of the book.
I just want to ask you, I know you've done a lot of research, just, for our audience sake, what basic, you can throw some light on this. What kind of research, both of them, like you both did while writing this novel? Just give us a glimpse.
Well, except traveling to Wuhan, except traveling to China, we've done.
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
Try to access as many information available in public domain, and try to put two and two together.
Yeah.
To create story out of that. So the basic research which was possible during the COVID pandemic, besides, like I said, we have collated it with a lot of incidents from the past, because China's wicked propensity was known for a very long time. So the book also raises questions about we were adequately prepared, or we were, beating around the bush. Because 1962, 1950, 1962, there have been a series of miscalculations, and even after that. 2008, the supposed MOU between the Congress Party and the CCP, about which we don't know any detail. So it also raises questions about whether we were adequately prepared, and going ahead, it emphasizes on the need for a higher level of fortification to ensure that these perils do not come, repeat themselves. Now, India has a 4,000-kilometer border with China. So India cannot take a very strident stand, unfortunately, officially. But yes, I think in terms of a lot of economic changes which has happened in the last 2 years, whether it has to do with removing the retrospective tax, which was a big hindrance for business, whether it is the manufacturing incentives, like Suraj was mentioning about the impetus to manufacturing edible oil. So all of these changes are making India more lucrative to foreign investors vis-a-vis China. Of course, a lot more needs to be done. But unless we win the economic war, the technology war, the cultural war, I think military war today is just one component of the the all-encompassing war, which is multitudinous and which plays out at many different levels.
Yeah, and to what Tuhin said, if you look at the research, just do this: go to Google, go to advanced search. You select, say, Philippines. And now China and Philippines have a lot of issues happening on islands and all. You just select stories from Philippines, put China, then you'll have those people given already all the notes out there. And just think about this. Our Prime Minister keeps speaking about demographic dividend.
Yeah.
Now, why did China change its one-child policy now? Because they're seeing the thing happen. The population pyramid is going to next 10 years is going to be an issue. So ultimately, they're going to. That's why they're showing this ultra-nationalist wolf warrior view that to make noise. So do the research. Everything is out there. We have to be aware or beware.
So finally, I would like to wish you both all the best.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Audience, I request every one of you who are all part of this session, many of my friends, many of our readers are watching this session, Tuhin and Clark. Your efforts and your research, your thought process, highly appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And no words for me. This is the book that will speak, will decode China's warfare, and the book which also will pave way to many thought process and will counter a narrative, as they say, it's a narrative which is always under siege, will spearhead. Also it will make the nation to move towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. I request every one of you to, and tell me both of you, how do they grab this book?
How do?
How do they grab this book?
It's in Amazon. It's in Amazon, Flipkart.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So
Yeah.
At least in the pandemic times, online it is present, so one can read it. Even Kindle edition is there.
Yeah. So please request every one of you, spread a word. Mission Shenzhen. Please go ahead and buy it. I'm having it. Manpreet, I hand it over to you on this note, and I wish both of you all the very best. The future is bright, that we have such thinkers and thinkers who have spearheaded the oils of the process in such a manner, oil the wheels of progress. And I know Tuhin personally, not only as a friend, but I never knew Tuhin as an author. When I read, I'm halfway through, but hats off to you, Tuhin.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sukanya ji. You have we
Clark,
enjoyed the session. It was one.
And from rock bottom of my heart, a heartfelt thanks. Taking so much of your time to come to our Ek Soch.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was a brilliant initiative. We enjoyed the discussion.
Pride of our nation. We are so proud of you. Many more to come. A lot of accolades, a lot of bouquets will come to your way. My best wishes.
Our future,
forever and ever.
Our writing endeavors from here are dedicated entirely to nationalistic pursuits.
Unsung heroes during these COVID times. Clark, Prasad, and Tuhin Sinha. We're so very proud of you. Handing it over to Manpreet. Manpreet.
Thank you, Dr. Sukanya, and a big thank you to Clark and Tuhin. So thanks for the lovely enlightenment of the pseudo issues that are going on around us nearby. And on that, I would like to just tell all of you all, I will be waiting for something on the next book titled maybe AFPAC or something like this.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Bye.
Once again, thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye.